Hey, what's up family, it's Sugar from Sound Candy Studio. Today I want to talk about the Waves Abbey Road Vinyl plugin. This is a really great plugin. It's an effects plugin, and essentially what it does, it creates that aged sound, the sound that you get when you drop that needle on a piece of vinyl, acetate or dub plate. That sound, that's the sound that this particular plugin generates. Now if that's your thing, stay tuned because we're going to talk about it in just a minute. See you on the other side. Welcome back. Right, so I'm guessing we should do what we always do, and it's to start to have a look at the graphical user interface. So let's start going from left to right. So this TG button, now this is a button that you don't always need to have in. This is modeled on the Abbey Road TG12410 mastering console, and it kind of just adds a little bit of harmonic distortion to the track. So it's something that you don't necessarily need to have in, but it's quite nice to have it in there. We're going to go across to generation. Now generation, this lacquer, I'm guessing it's the acetate button, which I'm guessing that people now call dub plates, I guess. That's probably the right word. So either acetate or dub plate, that's what this model's on. Print obviously models to your printed vinyl. Moving across to turntables, you have the AR button, that stands for Abbey Road, and then you have the DJ button under your turntable section. Cartridges, now that's this is going back a little bit, and anyone that's familiar with turntables will probably know these three anyway. So the first one is the moving magnet, the second one is the moving coil, and the third one is the DJ, being your disc jockey. Going across, you have the noise, the amount of noise that is generated using this, and this is going to go from infinity all the way to, I guess that's minus plus 24 dB. And we'll hear all this in a minute. The amount of crackle you're going to add to the track, the amount of density, the amount of clicks. Under the meter section, this is kind of obvious. It's whether it's in or it's out. The output button, you're going to know what that means. Under the monitor sections, you're going to have your left, your right, your mono and your stereo mixes. Phase distortion is, this is going to give you the amount of density, so it's either in or it's out, and this will be your high pass and your low pass, and again with the modulation. So let's moving downwards a little bit. The slowdown section, this is, you know, that DJ slowdown when he stops the turntable. That's essentially what this is. So you can either have the stop button, which you do manually, the auto resume, so once it stops, how quickly does it auto resume? And we can determine that by the length under the section which is called length. Now if you double click, you can set the length. The length comes in two flavors, either time or bars, so you can choose which one you want. So if you want it to stop and resume in 4.2 bars, or if you want it to start and stop at a specific time, you can set that. So that's quite straightforward. The well and flutter, again, this is old turntable technology. This is going to be your frequency resonance, so you can turn this up or turn it down in terms of the amount that you want to add to it. And then obviously up here you have your input, and then you have your drive. Now I generally set the drive somewhere about here, but 20-25%. It goes to 100, but you don't have to have it. It's down to taste. Now essentially, as I said at the top, this is all about creating that old school sound, the sound of vinyl. So if you don't do that a huge amount, so if you're doing something like lo-fi hip hop or lo-fi soul, R&B, anything like that, and you want to get that kind of authentic vinyl sound, yes, you could go and print a vinyl. Yep, that's no problem. You can certainly do that, but you can also buy this plugin. So essentially that's the overall basics of the buttons. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to unmute this bypass button, and you can hear what it sounds like. Again, as in with all these kind of videos, you're going to need to get some headphones on, I'm guessing, or some good studio monitors. Enough said about that. So let's just listen to a bit. If we add a bit more noise, what do we get? So we get a huge amount of vinyl surface noise there. And depending on the sound that you want, depending on how much you crank this up. I quite like it. Anything about here, I think is quite visible, and I quite like that. And if you want to add more to the input, you can add more to it just by cranking it up a little bit. The amount of crackle you get, this is here. So if you want to go for those 60s and 40s gramophone sound, this is probably what you're going to use. There's less of that. Obviously your density, the amount, the depth of it. We turn that down a little bit. The number of clicks, you know, the little pops that you get in clicks, that's also here. That's essentially that. So the next section, I'm guessing it's just going to be the stop and start, because this is to taste. I'm guessing the other thing as well is the head, the cartridge sound. How much of the effect do you want to have on it? So you have, this is your moving coil, and here you have the moving magnet. So you can hear that each of the different cartridges give a particular type of sound. And then we go straight back to the Abbey Road one, see what that sounds like. And from print to lacquer, that's that kind of, I love that sound, I really do. I also like the print one as well. Okay, so let's bypass that for a second. So the track I've chosen to do this, I've just made a quick track, a little kind of hip-hoppy sound thing, and we'll play that and we'll add this to it. So let's just do that straight away. Let's just engage that. Let's hear what it sounds like. Let's bypass that for a second. Right, so the other thing I'm going to show you now, which is this is the stop start. So we spoke about the stop start earlier, and this is how this works. It's quite simple. You press it, it stops. And the other thing you might want to do is, if you're using your DAW, whatever DAW you are using, it's quite nice to have this in the mix where you can automate this. So you just go in and automate it so that it's able to do a stop start right at the point. It's a bit fiddly, but it's well worth doing. And what I normally do when I use it this way is I do the stop start, I add the automation, then I print that track, so that it means I don't have to have the plugin in all the time, especially if it's just very specific. If it's very specific to the track, so I'll have it stop start on, I don't know, the second verse, 8 bars in, it will stop start, then I will print that bit and then I'll carry on going, and then I'll delete the plugin just because it's very specific. When you probably would leave it in as if you wanted to have this sound all the way through the track. And sometimes I would just print this, a very small section of this, maybe 1 bar, to a spare track, and I'll call it crackle or noise or whatever, and then have that running. It saves processing power, especially if you have a very large track and you're using sort of 40 tracks upwards and you just want this running at the bottom. Let's carry on, let's see what this sounds like. So we're going to do the stop start now. Okay, so with auto resume enabled, it will get to the end of this length, the length that you determine, and then it will crank itself up and start to go again. So let's bring this down. Let's just say 1. There we go. So you're going to have to play around with it to see exactly how much. Let's try on 2. Let's try on 4. Now, as I should have already said, but as you can already hear, I added some effects to this particular track anyway, because I wasn't sure what track I was going to use it on, but I did add some to this, and I will explain how I achieved this sound, this one here. So as you can hear, stop that. As you can hear, I did add some effects to this track, and I probably shouldn't have for this experiment, but I guess it works anyway. So yeah, that's it. This, as far as I know, this is probably going about $29, $30 at the moment, at the time of recording this, which is September the 24th. If you want to go out and grab yourself a little bargain, this is specifically, I do like this, and I think if you're making that type of music, this is a really great plugin. It's inexpensive. It does what it does. It's got lots of tiny features on it. It's got lots of ways to get that desired sound, especially that authentic sound. And we're using compressors now, and we're clicking on the analog button because we don't want it to sound very sterile, as lots of modern music does already. So I think that this, to accompany your compressors with your analog sounds, I think this is well worth the money. So this is it for this video. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you have any questions, additional questions about this plugin, please fire them off to me and I can see if I can answer them. But certainly if you're doing hip hop or lo-fi soul or R&B, blah blah blah, neo soul, whatever you're doing, and you want to get that sort of authentic vinyl sound, this is a great plugin for it. There are probably lots more plugins out there that can do this, but I quite like this one. I don't have others, but I do have a vinyl folder which I will certainly show you how I do this if I'm not using this plugin specifically. I have a specific vinyl plugin vinyl folder that has lots of vinyl type sounds. It means I don't have to use this. But however, if you are using vinyl samples, you don't get the ability to choose your cartridge head. You don't get the ability to choose a turntable, whether it's print or it's lac. And these are for very specific genres. However, if you are doing say film work, and you want to grab a piece of music and you want to make it sound like it's from the 40s or the 50s, and you want that, this is also a great plugin. So it doesn't have to be lo-fi, soul, R&B, hip hop. It doesn't need to be any of that. You can use this as an effect plugin simply for anything that you want to try and age. Okay, that's it. That's me done. I will see you again on Thursday. Take care. Bye bye.